After the last incident was the first time I dared to talk about what had happened to me. I just half-jokingly, half-seriously mentioned it at some party. My friends, of course, laughed at my scary story. Only one girl I didn't know changed her face when she heard it. She looked at me strangely, but changed the subject without letting the conversation develop. But the next night it happened again, and in an even worse form. This time he went to the toilet. That sounds funny, but believe me, I'm not in the mood to laugh right now. First, there was some mumbling coming from the back of the closet. Mostly unintelligible. It was like an eerie prayer in some strange, unreal language. The creak of the closet door cut through my nerves like a blade, sending shivers down my spine. And then the quiet slap, slap again. The door to the toilet opened and closed. And after a few seconds of silence, without making a sound, the unknown made his way into the kitchen. Stood there, again in complete silence, and returned to the bedroom. Like last time, he paused on the threshold, then suddenly came to the couch and stopped beside me. My heart was beating so loudly that I thought he might hear it. I tried to breathe evenly and calmly, pretending to be asleep as best I could. I didn't hear the creature breathing, just some sound. A quiet hiss and crackle, like a gramophone hissing on the last track of a record. And an odor. The whole room was filled with his odor. It smelled like a damp corner of an old barn. Rot, mold, and something else elusive, but just as vile. I was lying on my right side, and suddenly I was surprised to feel him climb over me and lie next to me. He wriggled like a cat, making himself comfortable, and then he was quiet. We were now lying a few inches apart. I had a hard time pretending to be asleep. And I could feel him looking at me. Staring with the cold, meaningless stare of fish eyes, as if he knew I was awake and was trying to catch me. A panic attack prevented me from even opening my eyes. And yet, in spite of that, I soon fell asleep in complete silence. Since then, he has never gone back into the closet again. He comes out of it, wanders around the apartment for a while, sighing and grumbling in his own incomprehensible language, and then lies down next to me. He looks at me. I know he's watching me until I fall asleep. Strangely, I fall asleep pretty quickly in these cases. Sometimes the other half of the couch is occupied. You know what I mean. On nights like this, he doesn't come over. Sometimes I'm ready to pick up a dirty, drunken beggar off the street and drag her into bed, just so I don't have to hear the door creak open. And I'm afraid to fold up the couch, even though I don't know what will happen. Maybe it will stomp around, sigh, and go back into the closet. But what if it doesn't? You may ask, why not lock the closet? Oh, believe me, I've tried it. There's a simple lock on the door that closes with a small key. I locked the closet at night once, but it didn't give me any peace of mind. I think it just made it worse. Something inside me was saying, "You better open the door." But unfortunately, I didn't listen to my mind, clutched the key in my fist like a talisman, and fell asleep. I woke up a few seconds before he tried to come out. Still sleepy, I heard him push the door open. Then another, and another. Immediately after, a series of thumps came from the closet. The remnants of sleep vanished instantly. Clutching the key in my sweaty palm, I waited with dread for what would happen next. He struck a few more times, more and more insistently. The blows were muffled and less frequent, as if someone were pounding on it with his shoulder, trying to break down the pathetic barrier. Just when it looked as if the door would swing open with another blow, he stopped abruptly. I thought it had calmed down, but suddenly an eerie scream came from the closet. Half scream, half moan, full of despair, nightmarish pleading and anger. A savage, unrelenting anger. At that moment, I was ready to scream and run out of the apartment, kicking the front door. The only thing that held me back was the wild terror that gripped my whole body. I didn't even have the strength to pull back the blanket. I clenched my teeth and squeezed my eyes shut, expecting him to break out of his insecure prison and pounce. If there was one more sound from the closet, I'd wet myself or stutter for the rest of my life. Or maybe both. But he stopped. I didn't sleep again that night. I lay awake until dawn, clutching in my right hand the talisman that had almost killed me. As soon as the room was light enough, I went to the kitchen, poured a full glass of whiskey, and drank it in one gulp. Sniffing my hand, which smelled of sweat and copper, I walked on shaky legs to the closet. The key turned in the keyhole with the click of a cocked trigger. I opened the door, marveling at my boldness, or rather my madness. There was nothing inside, of course. That is, nothing scary or strange. A couple of suits on a rack, an old leather jacket, a few small boxes of miscellaneous junk, and a burned-out iron. There was a scrap of fabric taped to the door that crumbled to dust as soon as I touched it. I spent the next few nights at a friend's house. I lied about my house being renovated. But you can't live in someone else's apartment forever. So, expecting the worst, I went back. The first night home, after trying to lock the closet, he touched me. At first, as he always did, he stood by the couch, hovering over me and grumbling softly. Sometimes I think I recognize familiar syllables in that grunt. Sometimes his muttering becomes more distinct, and then I think he's trying to say my name. Trying again to lie down beside me, he piled on top of me. At first he lay still. Suddenly he held out something cold and long, like a snake. Through the thin blanket, he tickled my arm like there were lots of big bugs crawling on it. Then he touched my face. The touch was very unpleasant. It wasn't the feeling of someone touching your nose, or your cheek, or your lips. It was the touching of your whole face at once, all at once. The touch of dozens of slippery eyelashes, like cold wet snow falling on my face. Why didn't I throw out the closet? I can't. Somehow that scares me more than the nighttime visits. At least nothing bad has happened since he started coming over. You won't believe this, but I am very scared. Me, a man who has been through 2 hot spots and made more than 30 parachute jumps. I, who several years ago fell under the ice and only thanks to my cold mind survived. I'm scared. Every night when I go to bed, I'm afraid. Afraid of my fear. Afraid that this time, too, when I wake up in the middle of the night, I won't be able to overcome the feeling of deep dread and accidentally stare at him.